But I'd have to agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
Let me tell you the real reason players feared Larry.
Isaiah Thomas once called him a basic white boy, but Magic knew that label was nonsense. Larry Bird wasn't basic at all. He was a cold-blooded mind hunter who cracked the league's toughest defenders and embarrassed whole squads shooting left-handed just because he could. From that brutal 13-ton gravel accident at his mom's house that quietly wrecked his back, to the 1991 phone call that showed Bird was the only man Magic trusted in his darkest moment.
Boom! Bust the door open, walk around. You might do a little something. Nah, you ain't got, nah, you shot yourself out in warm-up. Talking about Leon Wood, he said, nah, you shot yourself out in warm-up. Who coming in second?
Larry told all of us and the media, he said, tomorrow night's the last game of the trip, I'm gonna play this one left-handed.
C-stick for Larry Bird. Bird with the left hand and it stays.
This story runs deep, and it all begins with the one game that flipped the league upside down. You need to get this straight. Magic Johnson didn't walk into the early 80s thinking every night would be easy. This wasn't blind confidence. This was survival in a war zone called the NBA. Magic had a routine that sounds wild, even today. Before coffee, before food, before practice, he grabbed the newspaper and searched for one thing: Larry Bird's box score from the night before. That wasn't fandom, that was strategy. He built his whole day around whatever Bird had just done. That's not normal curiosity, that's calculated pressure. Like a general studying the one rival he knew could take him down at any moment. And this tension didn't start in the pros. It goes back to 1979, the NCAA Division I championship. Michigan State versus Indiana State. Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird. People call it a college game, but that's selling it short. Over 35 million people watched that showdown. Still the most viewed college basketball game ever. Bigger than most primetime shows today. The stakes were crazy high. Bird, the small-town kid from French Lick, Indiana, dragging an unknown program into the spotlight like he belonged there all along.
They called a timeout, and he turned around and looked at me and said, "I'm gonna score right here on you." And I said, "I know you will, I'll be ready."
But I'd have to agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
Magic was the flashy star of Michigan State, all smiles and confidence. Bird was the opposite. Tough, quiet, locked in. It was shine versus grind. City swagger versus small-town hunger. Charm versus obsession. Every sports storyline you've ever heard was packed into that one night. And somehow it actually delivered. In the end, Magic won 75-64. On paper, he had the edge. 24 points, 7 boards, 5 assists. Clean numbers, big stage, big win. But here's the twist. Even in defeat, Bird didn't flinch. No excuses, no frustration. People in that arena said he looked calm, almost cold, like he was already planning the next 5 moves, while everyone else was still catching their breath. That energy got under Magic's skin. Bird had bulldozed that entire season. Nearly 29 points and 15 rebounds a game. He dragged a program nobody feared onto the biggest platform in college basketball. And even after winning, Magic later admitted Bird was the one guy who truly had him uneasy before tip-off. That says everything. This wasn't hype talk. Magic was about to reshape the NBA, and the first time he saw Bird up close, he realized, this dude is a real issue. Fast forward months later, both land in the league at a time when the NBA was barely breathing. Ratings were shaky. Finals games sometimes aired on tape delay. The league needed stars fast. And just like that, a rivalry showed up that felt larger than the sport itself. Magic joined a loaded Lakers squad. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Norm Nixon, talent everywhere, ready to compete right away. Bird, he walked into chaos. The Celtics had gone 29-53 the year before. Straight disaster. Then this rookie arrives, puts up 21 points and 10 rebounds a night, and Boston explodes to 61 wins, a 32-game jump. One player flipped an entire franchise overnight. No crazy vertical, no flashy dunks, just skill, IQ, and pure control.
That boy, he can play, man.
Trouble is once, he's like, Reggie, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. Reggie, are you kidding me? I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen. You think you're gonna be able to ice me as he's talking? Next one, wah.
He did it with pure fundamentals, sharp IQ, and a confidence that hit different. No flash, no wasted motion, just control. Then came the Rookie of the Year battle. Magic dropped strong numbers, 18 points, 7 boards, 7 assists a night, on a Lakers squad already built to win. But Bird, he turned Boston into a powerhouse, owned both ends of the floor, and snatched the trophy. Magic saw that, he felt that, and that's when things shifted. What started as competition turned mental. This is where the pressure kicked in. Players can survive getting dunked on. They can live with someone being faster or stronger. What they struggle with, a guy who reads their move before they even think it, someone who shrinks the court, exposes every mistake, and makes you question yourself possession after possession. Bird was doing that in 1980.
Larry Bird talking to you saying, I'm the best man down to put a 3 into my ball. That's true?
It is very true. So, I look in the mirror, I'm like, well,
me and Jordan, Magic, Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Jerry West.
And this wasn't just about awards or stat lines. The tension leaked everywhere. Practices, scouting sessions, locker room talks. Magic had to scheme for Bird every single time. Every matchup carried weight. Every play had layers. By the time Boston was back chasing titles, Bird was living rent-free in the league's mind, especially Magic's, in ways fans never fully saw. But that was only the beginning. What Bird did next, on the floor, off it, and inside opponents' heads, pushed this rivalry to another level. And if you think 79 and 80 were wild, wait until the rest of the league realized this wasn't a phase. This was a takeover. See, most players use trash talk to hype themselves up. It's just noise. You can't guard me. Empty words. But Bird, he moved different. But with Bird, it wasn't normal trash talk. It felt scripted in advance. He would tell you exactly how he was about to wreck your night. The exact spot on the floor, the exact move, the exact finish. And then he'd go out there and make it happen like it was practice. That's the real trap. If someone spells out the whole plan and you still can't stop it, you're not just taking a loss. You're questioning who you are as a player. The first time the whole basketball world saw this mind game explode was the 1986 three-point contest. First year they ever held it, everyone tense, the best shooters alive, Craig Hodges, Dale Ellis, locked in trying to stay focused in the locker room. Then Bird walks in, doesn't even take off his warm-up jacket, looks around calm and says, "So, which one of you's coming in second?"
And you know what? I hate Larry Bird, but I respect the hell out of that man because I went against him in all those championships.
Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe.
And he wasn't joking. That's what makes it wild. He said it because in his head, the result was already locked. Then he went out there and won the entire contest still wearing the warm-up top. On the final money ball, he didn't even wait to see it drop. Shot goes up, hand in the air, already walking toward the trophy. That kind of confidence messes with people. But things got even heavier in 1985 against the Atlanta Hawks. This is the night he dropped 60. Not just 60, a masterclass in control. He was calling his shots like it was a game of Simon Says. At one point, he told the Hawks bench he was about to hit a shot and land in the trainer's lap. Next possession, fading three, gets fouled, falls straight into the Atlanta trainer's lap, exactly how he said it. It got so unreal that Hawks players on the bench, The same guys trying to stop him were laughing, jumping, reacting like fans watching a show. That's when you know something different is happening. It wasn't just scoring, it was domination of the moment and the mind. The Hawks coach, Mike Fratello, was so stunned, he fined his own players the next day for cheering the other team. Imagine being that dominant, turning the opponent's bench into your personal fan club. That's not normal confidence, that's control. And if you think that sounds bold, listen to this. In 1986, before facing the Portland Trail Blazers, Bird told his teammates he was bored being the best right-handed player alive. He said he was playing the whole game left-handed. People thought he was joking. He wasn't. He dropped 47 points and a triple-double, scoring 20 with his left hand alone. When reporters asked why he'd do something that looked so disrespectful, he stared at them and calmly said he was saving his right hand for the Lakers. That's ice cold. People always compare Bird to Michael Jordan, but their style was different. Jordan points to a spot on the floor and tells him, "I'm going to stand right here and hit it in your face." McDaniel, one of the toughest defenders around, locks in and plays perfect defense. Didn't matter. Bird gets to that exact spot, hits the fadeaway, and jogging back says, "I didn't mean to leave 2 seconds on the clock." That's psychological warfare. And here's the wild part nobody expected. Even the Detroit bad boys started to feel it. We're talking about Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn. Guys known for hard fouls and zero fear. They could push you, bump you, try to rattle you physically, but they couldn't shove their way out of Bird's mental trap. Isaiah Thomas later admitted Bird's IQ created real panic, and that panic led to one of the most unforgettable plays in NBA history. Game 5, 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. 5 seconds left. Pistons up 1. Ball in their hands. Series on the line. All Isaiah had to do was inbound the ball cleanly, and Detroit likely goes up 3-2. Simple, right? But Bird had been in their heads all night. Isaiah rushed it. Instead of a sharp pass, he floated a soft one toward Bill Laimbeer. And Bird, he was already waiting. He jumped the lane, stole it, and flipped it to Dennis Johnson for the game winner. Just like that, chaos. Then it got messy.
I wasn't a fan of Larry Bird growing up because I thought everything he did was lucky. When I started, getting older and, seeing guys put in work, I realized that he is one of the greatest players ever, and it's not luck. It's all skill.
Called me, we're talking. It's just, how you doing? I heard about it, and you can almost hear both of us with some tears in our eyes. And I'm choked up because he did call me.
After the loss, Dennis Rodman and Isaiah told the media, if Bird were black, he'd be just another guy. That comment stirred everything up. Years later, when Magic Johnson was asked about it, he didn't ride with them. He made it clear they were wrong. Magic knew the truth. Bird wasn't great for a white guy. He was a mastermind who happened to be white. Big difference. Even as the league got faster and more athletic, Bird's mental edge never faded. In 1987, rookie Reggie Miller tried to talk at him while Bird stood at the free throw line. Bird paused, stared at him, and said, "Rook, you've got to be kidding me. I'm the best shooter in the league right now. Understand?" Then he calmly knocked down the shots and walked off like it was nothing. And then there's 1991. Shawn Kemp, explosive, high-flying, pure energy. Bird was battling serious back issues by then. Still, he looked at Kemp and said, "I'm the best player from Indiana, not you." And he backed it up. He controlled the game mentally so hard that Kemp still brings it up years later. This is why Michael Jordan called Bird the new sheriff when he hit the league. Jordan saw it. Magic saw it. They both understood early. Bird wasn't normal. He didn't need elite speed or crazy strength. He felt inevitable. Like no matter what you tried, the result was already written. Even Kobe Bryant studied him closely. Kobe had Bird in his top 5 ever. Not just for talent, but for that cold mindset. That, "I'll tell you exactly how this ends" energy. And if you watched Kobe carefully, you could see it. Jordan's athletic edge mixed with Bird's next level IQ. But here's the part people forget. While Bird was out there dominating mentally, his body was breaking down behind the scenes. And it traces back to something as small as a cheap driveway job that almost wrecked everything. We'll get to that. First, you need to see the resume. Bird built his legacy in what felt like a televised street fight. 3 NBA titles, 12 All-Star selections, Rookie of the Year, taken right from Magic. 3 straight MVPs in 1984, 1985, and 1986. Only 2 other names in league history have done that, Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. That's the entire club.
One lie. You only told me one lie in your career.
That's pretty good.
Only one. And you only lied to the fans and all the people in the world one time. And you know what that lie was? You don't remember, do you? Larry Bird said that there would be another Larry Bird one day. And Larry, there will never, ever, ever be another Larry Bird. And so, I don't care how many people, how many players, there will never, ever be another Larry Bird. So you take that to the bank.
He ruled the mountain during one of the most physical eras ever. This wasn't today's pace and space league with jersey swaps and friendly smiles after the buzzer. This was survival. Maurice Lucas ready to level you instead of giving up a layup. The Detroit Pistons turning every game into a wrestling match. And in the middle of all that chaos, Bird stayed calm, sharp, and in control. And in the middle of all those explosive, high-flying killers, there was this tall, slow-looking guy from a tiny place called French Lick. On the surface, it almost felt unreal. A dude who looked like he was moving through sand, dominating the fastest athletes alive. But ask Michael Cooper about that. If you don't know Cooper, he was the defensive ace for the Showtime Lakers. Long arms, quick feet, built his whole career on shutting down elite scorers. Even Bird once called him the toughest defender he ever faced. But here's the twist. Cooper has admitted he hated guarding Larry. He said straight up that Bird was a savant. Cooper talked about Lakers team meetings. Magic, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Pat Riley, all in a room trying to figure out the Bird problem. And it wasn't just the shooting that scared them. It was the processing speed. You could defend him perfectly for 23 seconds, and in that final second, he'd spot a backdoor cut or a passing window that didn't even look real. That's mental warfare. So where did that brain come from? It started in Indiana dirt. Bird grew up with almost nothing. Same clothes to school. Family struggling to keep the lights on. That edge wasn't fake. It was survival. Basketball wasn't entertainment for him. It was the exit plan. And when he carried Indiana State to the 1979 title game, that hunger was already fully alive. It was the ultimate Cinderella run. He took a program nobody talked about and dragged them into the most watched college basketball game ever. Think about that. 35 million people tuning in to watch a kid from a town of 2,000. That kind of hunger earns respect, even from rivals. And speaking of rivals, Pat Riley, the mastermind behind the Showtime Lakers, once said something that says it all. He said, "If I had to pick one person to take a shot to win a game, I'd choose Michael Jordan. But if I had to pick one person to take a shot to save my life, I'd choose Larry Bird." Let that sink in. That's the level of trust and fear Bird commanded. But it raises the real question. How? How does a guy who didn't look explosive make world-class athletes look lost? On paper, he shouldn't have dominated like that. On the court, he dismantled them anyway. Bird had a formula, cold and precise. It started with what some call the knockout effect. When Bird told you exactly where he was about to score from, it wasn't random talk. It was strategy. He planted hesitation in your mind. Basketball at that level is instinct, split-second decisions. But once Bird says, "I'm going to stand right here and hit it in your face," now you're thinking instead of reacting. And the moment you hesitate, he's already rising up for the shot. That's the trap. Now let's break down how he actually pulled this off. Bird had what I call the 3-inch rule. Most players need to blow by you with speed. Bird, he only needed 3 inches of daylight. Long before the step back became a highlight move across the league, he was already mastering it. He picked it up from a little-used teammate named Terry Duerall. But Bird transformed it into something deadly. He wasn't trying to outrun you, he was shifting you. A small shoulder twitch, a quick head fake, just enough to make you lean a fraction the wrong way. The second your balance tipped backward, he'd step back and release. Shot gone before you could recover. He wasn't attacking your speed, he was attacking your center of gravity. Then came the bait and punish system. Most stars hate double teams. They get irritated, force bad shots. Not Bird. He welcomed it. He'd post up in a spot that looked open, almost tempting defenders to swarm him. The moment that second defender committed, boom! A pass fired to the weak side before you could blink. Bird saw the court like it was mapped out in advance. Every cut, every rotation already stored in his head. That vision shredded defenses. But here's where it got complicated. It wasn't just basketball. The media narratives added pressure. Some outlets labeled him the Great White Hope. That framing stirred tension and created resentment across the league. Players like Isaiah Thomas and young Dennis Rodman were competing in an environment where the conversation wasn't always just about skill. It added layers to an already intense rivalry. You're out there grinding, giving everything to the game, and this guy who doesn't even look explosive is getting all the headlines. And the hardest part? He was backing it up. After the 1987 playoffs, Dennis Rodman went to the media and said Bird was overrated and only won MVPs because he was white. Even years later, he doubled down, claiming Bird wouldn't survive in today's era. But here's the painful twist. Bird's pride in being the tough country guy is what hurt him most. In 1985, instead of hiring workers, he decided to shovel 13 tons of gravel himself to build a driveway for his mom. A league MVP, a multi-millionaire, bent over for hours, wrecking his spine over a small project. That moment changed everything. His doctor, Dan Dyrick, later explained that Bird's back shifted badly out of alignment. That driveway job started the long decline. By the time the 1992 Dream Team came together, the legend was fighting constant nerve pain. While Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson were flying high, Bird was often stretched out on the floor behind the bench because sitting in a chair hurt too much. Still, he stood on that podium in Barcelona with a gold medal around his neck. But deep down, he knew his run was finished. The 80s era was closing, and the torch was moving on. Even so, his influence didn't fade. It didn't matter if you were a young star or a powerhouse like Shaquille O'Neal. Bird's blueprint was still shaping the league. And here's something wild. When Shaq first entered the NBA, and as fear slowly turned into deep respect, something powerful happened. For nearly a decade, Magic and Bird were straight-up rivals. No smiles, no mercy. But in 1991, when Magic shocked the world by announcing he had HIV, the first call he received wasn't from a teammate, it was from Bird. That moment flipped the story. Suddenly, it wasn't Lakers versus Celtics. It wasn't Showtime versus Boston. It was just two men who understood the pressure, the spotlight, the weight that comes with being the face of a generation. Magic later said when people treated him like he was already finished, Bird was the one who treated him like a real person. And the final powerful moment came at Bird's jersey retirement. Magic stood there wearing a Celtics shirt under his Lakers jacket, looked Larry in the eye and said this: "If you respect greatness like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and share."